What's up? It's another edition of ACC Baseball Etc, presented as always by Pitch Logic, the system used by players, coaches, scouts, and instructors at all levels of play, from youth leagues to the big leagues. The easy-to-use and affordable technology makes the platform accessible to every player at every level. All the metrics and features used at the highest level. Go to pitchlogic.com for more information. Welcome. I'm Daron Vaught. I am joined by Aaron Relaxed Fitt, and we are here to talk about fall intrigue. It is that time of year, fall ball. You're about to hit the road, I know, Aaron, for a lot of your reporting on programs all about. So I just figured we could just rap about ACC teams and what's going to be different. And in some cases, we don't know what is going to be different or the same. But this is a platform for our speculation, right? So I would begin by asking, just generally, what intrigues you about some ACC team storyline headed into this fall? So, like, what's the first thing that comes to mind?
Well, the first thing that comes to mind for me, Daron, is how was NC State last night? And that was a team that I was very intrigued by, and had a scheduling snafu, and I didn't even get over there to see them, which I'm bummed about. But they sound, as always, very interesting. What can you tell me? How was that scrimmage against Elon?
I was actually impressed. I'll begin this with, I was impressed by the competition. I think Elon's like a pretty good physical bunch. And NC State clubbed them. And they hit a lot. It's typical NC State in that it's good contact, very physical team, just as their combatants were last night. I think NC State is, and we see this from year to year with Wolfpack teams. Some years they hardly run at all. Yeah. Other years they run amongst the most of any team in the ACC. And I think it's wise of Elliott Avent and his coaching staff, because based on what I see, I think they do that based on personnel.
Right.
It seems to me they will have the personnel to run a lot. And it looks like they're going to do that. They sent runners often last night. I know that was the case at the DBAP against Duke as well. I've heard Elliott say this fall that they're going to have to win on pitching and defense, and I don't know that that's going to be necessarily so true come the spring. Luke Nixon was at the top of the order and hit a mammoth shot last night. Drew Lanphier had a home run as well, so it's some familiar names, but some new names in the lineup as well, with some transfers, and it struck me as just sort of another impressive NC State lineup, just not littered with the names like we're accustomed to having from a year to year basis with them.
I think, from what I understand, I think they did quite well on the JUCO circuit this year. And also, of course, you get a couple of intriguing transfers once again, like Ryan Jaros from Georgia Tech is a guy that I think could really help him. Physical kid.
And he's not even swinging yet. He's been injured. So I think October 24th is so he's a couple of weeks away from swinging. And so we haven't even really seen him this fall. Matt Ossenfort is the infield transfer from Vanderbilt. He looks the part, looks to be a pretty good player, and is going to be at least given a chance to be in that lineup every day. So I think he's going to be pretty good. They just they reloaded well. And for pitching, guess what? They've got guys back. So Matt Willitson is even going to be there. So he's going to be in sort of the, I'm sure we'll talk about
ninth year, right?
Yeah, I'm sure we'll talk about North Carolina. He's sort of the Jake Knapp type, where it feels like, okay, he's 35, he's got a couple mortgages, and is just going to go out there and throw 100 pitches sometimes. So Willitson is there. Obviously, they have Dom Fritton. I saw Jacob Duden last night. He pumped 99 a few times and looked really, really good. Derek Smith threw last night. So I don't know what they're going to do with the third rotation spot, and maybe it is extend Duden. We'll see. But they've got pieces, and it strikes me as a team that's going to be pretty good again.
Yeah, for sure, especially with those big bullpen arms at the back end. I love building teams from the back end, and boy, I mean, how intimidating was it last year when you're trailing late in the game after 6 against NC State? It felt like lights out. By the end of the season, when Smith had really come on and Duden, was no longer a freshman at that point, it was really felt like that kind of carried him to Omaha.
Yeah. So yeah, that's the lone team I've seen to this point as we're speaking. But I liked what I saw out of NC State, and I'm guilty of this thing where I'll pick everybody to be, regional teams. As of right now, boom, I'm putting my stamp on NC State. We'll see about the others shortly when I see them. So
it's a slam dunk regional team. It's just, and it is just about every year. But I mean, certainly it's more like, to me, it feels, with the pitching that they've gotten back and everything, it feels more like a top 15 team than anything else. So I would be surprised if they're not in that range.
Yeah, for sure. What else intrigues you in terms of teams that are on your plate that you're going to see soon? What are the sort of the questions that you're looking to get answered?
Well, you mentioned North Carolina. That's another one that I'm going to see here shortly. And yeah, I mean, the Knapp piece is intriguing. Folger Boaz coming off injury last year. I think I don't know if he's been throwing yet this fall. From what I understand, maybe not. But obviously, that's another piece that is a really big arm. That can be a big difference maker. I mean, they've got a lot of pitching. We talked so much, like NC State. We talked a lot about North Carolina's freshman arms last year, and I want to see how those guys progress. I mean, they were already really good, but I mean, can they get better and better? That whole group of them. It's a really exciting collection of arms, and of course, you've got some real star power there with like Luke Stevenson, of course, and you got Alex Madeira's back. I mean, another older player. They've got some nice old guys. Jackson Vanderbrake's back. I mean, they got some guys that have been around the block, which you love in college baseball. You love to be old. And you throw in a guy like a Kane Kepley from Liberty, who's just a little all-fit team type, 5 foot, whatever, 5'8", spark plug speed guy in center field, who's hitting the cape, and he's just I think that's a nice piece. And I mean, I saw another one of their transfers, Tom Chmielewski, I saw in the cape, but I saw him pretty good. I think that's a nice addition. He's a left-hander off the mound, so I mean, it's like everybody just kind of blending in some of these new guys, and you've got obviously some big shoes to fill. No more Vance Honeycutt, but I think they did a really good job once again building this roster, and looking forward to seeing them soon.
Yeah, likewise regarding North Carolina. I was having a conversation with a scouting friend last night that I think they are going to be better than a lot of people might expect, because I think people might overreact to the departures. Vance Honeycutt, Casey Cook, obviously great college hitters. Even a guy with some pop like Alberto Osuna ran out of eligibility at the D1 level. He is now transferred to Division II Tampa, the reigning national champions, and is just going to be in the middle of that lineup, which is a cool story. But I mean, you didn't mention Gavin Gallagher, who I believe is going to take a huge step up this year and be a dude. And with the pitching, like you said it, if Knapp is Knapp, he's potential Friday ace. If Boaz is Boaz, potential Friday ace. The other, whoever's not is going to be on Saturday. And then, their de facto Friday ace, Jason DeCaro from last year, is back, and he might be that guy. So, like, they have 3 starting pitchers who are potential Friday guys. And again, if they're healthy, that's their weekend rotation. So that's excluding Aiden Houck, who got a lot of time and looked really good at points last year. They've got bullpen pieces back. Kyle Percival started against Walters State on Friday. I wasn't there, but I got word that he has made a substantial jump and looked really good. So if that's an added piece for them that can sort of bump up into, The word I got was potential weekend guy. So like, boom, there you go. Add him to that grouping. Like that's significant. That's
the guy they were very excited about as a freshman. And he's got pitchability and he's got projection, right? He had those two things going for him. It just didn't all quite click yet, but you saw flashes of it. I mean, out of the bullpen last year, it was pretty good, 22 appearances, but 2.4 ERA. He was effective. But yeah, I mean, I always thought there was more in the tank with him, and there was frontline potential if it all really clicked. And so if he's making a jump, I heard the same thing, Daron. That's big for them.
Yeah. So I'm interested in North Carolina, to say the least, and those are two of the Omaha teams from a year ago. Might as well move to the others. A lot coming back is kind of the trend, right? Florida State's got, assuming everybody's healthy, a lot back in terms of its pitching. So Jamie Arnold, who was with Team USA over the summer and looked really good. Cam Leiter, who I don't believe has thrown yet this fall, but is on the up, I guess. Hopefully, there's been sort of some hesitation with him, which is a little bit worrisome. But hopefully he's good to go in the spring. And then they have two legit arms, which was the starter for their Omaha conversation when we got to week 2, week 3 last year of the season, right? So Florida State, to me, is again sort of in that mix, which is fun and encouraging.
Yeah, I agree. And yeah, I mean, it's Leiter is kind of like their nap, I suppose, just that X factor guy coming back off injury. I mean, Leiter's got bigger upside. Leiter's got enormous upside. But yeah, it's a little bit of an X factor, but I mean, boy, if he's healthy and strong, I mean, that's an outstanding 1-2 punch atop the rotation. How about the guy I'm really intrigued by among their newcomer group is Wes Mendez, the transfer from Ole Miss, left-handed pitcher. Ole Miss loved this guy last fall, and I loved him too. I saw him really good in their Fall World Series. And it's not a huge body. They kind of comp them to a little bit of like a Doug Nikhazy type, if you remember from Ole Miss's excellent teams there in the early 2020s.
One of my favorites, a borderline psychopath, Doug Nikhazy.
For sure, yeah. Mendez is a little bit bigger than that. I think this has got a little more stuff even. I mean, it's I think you'll see some 95s or something from the left side with really good feel for the secondary stuff. And that's, I think, kind of uneven year last year as a freshman, but that'll happen as a freshman. And now you kind of think if this guy makes that sophomore jump, that could be a really nice addition for him. And again, they did very well in the portal. Some of these teams did, but I mean, I love the addition of Evan Crest from Jacksonville. He's been a Team USA guy. That's a great get for them on the mound. I love the addition of Gage Harrelson from Texas Tech, just a really athletic, kind of wiry, speedy outfielder that can push the action. And they like guys that are multidimensional. It's not like your grandfather's Florida State team where it's just going to, load up on these little kind of squatty right-handed, jokers who could dump it over the short porch and the opposite field. Or it's just we got some athletes here, and I think they like guys that can defend at multiple positions. And I think that once again, we're going to see that this year. I mean, they've got some speed pieces, and they got some power pieces, and I think they can blend them together.
Yeah, middle infield back, Lodison Farrow, like that's huge for them defensively. Yeah. Some sort of some vibes guys, some identity guys like Jackson West back. I really like. Again, they lost some big pieces, much like North Carolina. They lost a lot of big pieces in the lineup. But it's hard for me to imagine they're not back in the mix, and it's tough to say, right? The draws and regional, and there's a long season to go before that point. And, so it's tough to say, count it Omaha team again, but they're certainly capable is kind of the point. And I think Virginia is too, as we sort of just like round out the Omaha guys. They kind of maybe not lucked out. They benefited from guys not going. So Jay Woolfolk is back.
Yeah.
We all know his potential. I'll be interested if there's sort of like a hangover with him emotionally, because it really seemed like he poured out every bit of it he had in Omaha. And then it's sort of this anticlimactic, okay, well, I'm back now thing.
Didn't it feel like it was very much like his final presser conference? It was like, I'm so sad to be leaving this place. I want to thank the coaches, and and it was a fiery, impassioned statement of support for that coaching staff. Even though I don't know if they were catching heat on social media for not winning in Omaha or whatever, but like he seemed to think that they were, and he was. He talked about how grateful he was to be there, and yeah, it definitely sounded like somebody who was leaving. So the fact that he's out, that he's back is intriguing. But I mean, maybe he found something we've been waiting for his whole career. I mean, obviously he's had a very good career at Virginia, but what we saw at the end there, in the super regional especially, just what he was as a starter, who could go deep into the game, mix 4 pitches, compete his butt off, locate. I mean, that was what we've been waiting for. We wanted to see that version of it, and if he can do that consistently, I mean, it's a game changer. I mean that's again, that's in the past. It's like, well, we'll give him a chance to start. He winds up back in the bullpen or whatever. But what we saw last year was pretty special in the super regional, and I would love to see him go out and have a full season like that. And if so, he's an All-American type guy, and that's big.
Yeah. Yeah. So they obviously lost Griff O'Farrell, Ethan Anderson, but Harrison Didowick is one of those guys who did not go, surprisingly, was eligible, comes back, and maybe even with a vengeance is going to be a little fired up, a little motivated.
I mean, it's a lot of strikeouts was probably why he did not get a better opportunity in pro ball. 70 strikeouts last year. Got a lot of power and athleticism. I mean, he's a super talented kid, but I'm sure that's going to be a point of emphasis for him this year is, can I make more consistent contact, bring down that strikeout rate? And if so, I mean, again, you're looking at a guy who could be a first-team All-American and a first-round pick. So, yeah, he's got a chance to really bolster his stock and make another Omaha run.
Yeah. And so that, other key returners for them, Henry Godbout is an infielder I really, really like.
Me too.
I would expect him to make a pretty sizable jump.
And he kind of quietly led their team in hitting last year. I mean, he was turned, he's already a solid player. He turned himself into a very good player that kind of flew under the radar with some of the other star power in that club. But I mean, that guy can do a little bit of everything. He's got some grit to him too. I like that kid a lot.
Yeah. And then Henry Ford's back, and that's a guy that, look, when KP and I saw him in Jacksonville last year, it took a couple ABs, and Kyle looked over me at a couple of occasions and was just like, that's a big leaguer. Like, he's got the goods. So from a freshman to a sophomore, what's that jump look like? That could be a really big deal for them. So, I mean, again, it's an encouraging outlook for Virginia to sort of wrap up the Omaha teams who.
Yeah. And I would put
repeat.
I totally agree with you on Ford. I mean, liked him from the first time I set eyes on him last fall. But I would put Eric Becker in that same category as that freshman to sophomore guy who I think is super talented and ready to take a jump, have more playing time, and let's see what he can do with it. Aiden Teal might be in that category too. I think he's a sophomore, or might be junior now, but a guy that I think can do a lot of things. Two-way talent. I don't know what they've got him doing. That's one of the things I want to find out. Is he focusing on more on one or the other? But I like him. And you still have Evan Blanco. We didn't talk about Evan Blanco, right? I mean, he's still there to kind of, to lead your rotation along with Woolfolk, and then you throw in their new guys, and they just like every year, they don't miss with their evaluations. I mean, it's crazy how good they are with their, there's a lot of programs like that in the ACC where it feels like their recruiting is just so rock solid, but Virginia definitely is. I mean, they get their portal guys, but they have continued to get their high school guys really, and they've done a really good job with those. And I mean, so many teams have gone so portal heavy, and I think UVA has continued to kind of still play their game, but also dip their toe in the portal waters effectively. I think I like the way they've got their formula figured out.
Yeah, and it's funny you mentioned Blanco. Like we've talked about, some of the other pitching situations. Like Jason DeCaro, out of necessity, became the ace for North Carolina down the stretch last year. With Evan, there was trust in him, but it didn't feel like there was this all in. He's our Friday guy at the beginning of the season. And again, Virginia was in Jacksonville, so like we sort of saw it at the beginning of the year. There was this hope that it would be somebody else, right? So maybe that's just indicative of the stuff of those around Blanco, and but it's also a testament to like he's a gamer, man. Like he just pitches, and that's a really interesting one to me. Like, does he come back with maybe a little bit something added to maybe look the part? I'm using he had a great year, and again, you're the ace of a team in Omaha. You're a legit ace at that point, but maybe he comes back and sort of looks the part of an ace a little bit more from the onset, right?
I think that's well said. Yeah, because I mean, he really did grow into it last year, like you said. I mean, at the beginning, it was because I mean, it's not it's not like sexy, overpowering velocity. I mean, especially early in the year, it's like okay, he's 88 to 90 with a changeup. Reg ball's functional, but like it's just kind of a generic feeling lefty. But I mean, he grew and grew, and I thought the stuff actually got better. But the poise got better, and it's just the command and just like he kind of you could see it happening in the final month of the season and the postseason. You could just see him like becoming the guy, like and he was nails for him. He was nails late, and they were proud of the way that and credit to that staff and just the way that they
it feels like we do it every year, right? It's you say it every year. It's just like, well, it didn't really look like it was going to be much, and then it was good enough,
Yeah, and they developed him. That's a great developmental success story, and it feels like they always have those guys, but that was a neat one.
Yeah, for sure. What about outside of Omaha? What are big questions? I'll start to give you a second to think.
Do it.
I am so fascinated by Miami.
Yes.
They brought in 30 plus newcomers and like hit the portal hard. I saw at USA Baseball a couple of times over the summer their coaching staff and just kind of like was prodding a little bit. How do you feel about the transfer class? Right, that was around that time of year, right? So they're a little coy about it, right? It's like we got some more guys and like the pieces that we brought in, and then you look and you see the volume, and it's just, I mean, it's going to be a totally different team, maybe in the spring than it is in the fall. Like, who knows, right? I don't have an official fall roster in front of me for them, but I think it's something like 33 newcomers out of their 40-ish on the fall roster.
Wow. Yeah, I had heard similar, and I don't also have a roster, so it's very intrigued. I mean, our guy Walt Villa, of course, will be on the case for Miami. He lives down that way. He's gonna see them do their fall report, and I'm intrigued to read it because certainly it's it's a dramatic difference. I mean, turning over the roster in a big way. Sometimes that can work, and sometimes it just takes you some time to for all those pieces to gel. But I will say, last year I was kind of skeptical when Georgia did something similar. Like, how we got 7-8 outfielders now? Like, how are we going to find? How are we going to get these pieces to fit together? And all these guys come from all over the place, so many transfers, and it worked great for them. I mean, they were able to blend them all together. So I mean, there's a blueprint there. It can work for Miami too. I just it's a program that feels like it's a big spot for them. I mean, we just we're doing our top 100 programs rankings, and it's kind of jarring to see them where they are, which is, gosh, what are they, in the 30s? I mean, it's 20s, wherever it is, it's lower than you would expect for Miami. And given their pedigree and all the other things they've got going for them. And let's see now. Part of that is okay. They've had some ups and downs over the last decade, and now we've got a new head coach and a new administration there, or a new leadership core, I should say, in that coaching staff. And let's see. We got to see it. I mean, we all know JD. We love JD. He's a great pitching coach. He's Mr. Miami. He's been part of that program for 3 decades now. I think it feels like it, but
Yeah.
I mean, it's now it's his chance to be head coach and show us what he's got. So, the landscape hasn't gotten any easier, but let's see it.
I pulled up a roster, by the way. The pitching transfer that they're very excited about, who's had a good summer and a good fall, is Griffin Hughes from Cincinnati. So that feels massive for them. But you look at the previous school on this roster, and I'm looking down the list. Derek Williams from Wichita State. We saw him in Jacksonville last year, and that's a nice piece as a senior out of St. Louis for them. Jake Ogden from UNC Greensboro, Oklahoma State, Davenport, Georgia State, Eastern Florida State, Cincinnati, I mentioned with Hughes, Bobby Marsh from Penn State, Todd Hudson from Liberty, Winthrop, Gulf Coast State, Oregon State, Will Smith from Coastal Carolina represented on here, Hawaii, Lake Sumter State, Lamar. I mean, the transfers are from all over, and that's including too, or added to a nice freshman class that they really like as well. So, and obviously Daniel Cuvée is still going to be there. He's ACC Player of the Year potential.
Yep.
I'm so interested to see what those pieces are, how they fit, how it meshes together, because like you said, it's been weird to see Miami where they are, and it would be befitting for them to have this influx of talent and then suddenly, snap off a super regional season or something like that. Right. Like it wouldn't surprise any of us. And I think, quite frankly, we all would rejoice, because the league is better when Miami is that type of program.
Yeah. And I would say college baseball in general like they bring such a different energy to the game that when they're good, it's just fun, man. Like, it's just, I don't know. It's the history and just kind of the swagger. And I'm here for it. I'd like to see Miami be Miami again. And so it's a big year.
Let's wrap with one more outside of Omaha. Don't worry about the equity. We'll get plenty of that in as time goes on. We're here every week. So if we didn't talk about your team's fall, we will, I promise. And be sure you subscribe at d1baseball.com and read the fall reports, because everyone's going to be represented there. But yeah, my pick was Miami outside of Omaha teams. What would you say?
Well, Duke comes to mind as a team that they were so good at the end of last year. I mean, they won the ACC tournament, and it felt like an Omaha team, right? And then they just couldn't get it done in the regional. And it's like, it feels like they've been knocking on the door now for Omaha for a while. And I want to see if this is the year where they can break through and get there. I think they've just done how about the job they did in the portal last year, right? I mean, bringing in these, the Ben Millers and the Zach Morrises and these guys that just kind of, again, flew under the radar a little bit, I think. It felt like another nice group of transfers, but like it's crazy, just how good those guys were. And talk about hitting on your evaluations. My gosh, I mean, year after year, it's like they do that. But so Miller is back.
And that's maybe the biggest one for them, because he could have gone to play pro ball, and even if not getting drafted, I'm pretty sure he got talked to about some professional contract offers and decided to come back. And that's a guy that, again, he was a 400 hitter in the Ivy League, and it basically translated 1-to-1 to the ACC, and he's coming back. That's going to be top of middle of your order kind of guy, steady, very, very steady potential, all ACC first teamer.
I mean, let him in hitting, hit 360 with 15 bombs, 18 doubles. I mean, what a year. Your first year of the ACC. But yeah, you got him, and then you got, of course, AJ Gracia, who and Kyle Johnson, who were two of our favorite freshmen last year. I would expect even bigger things as sophomores now. Like, these guys have serious superstar potential. I don't know if Johnson is doing the two-way thing anymore. I think he is.
He
but
confirmed
I don't know.
As a matter of fact, I talked to both of them last week for the
Okay.
show.
Sweet.
And Gracia seems to be doing the two-way thing, at least for now. And I knew
That's
he
interesting.
pitched in the fall last year.
Yep.
But they sort of buried the lead with me. I had them on together, and KJ sort of mentioned that they were both two-way guys. And I was just kind of like, are you breaking news? Is AJ going to throw some innings this year? And you know, he is working out with both pitchers and hitters, as Kyle Johnson is as well. And I would expect it to be sort of status quo with KJ. He's going to be, when he's not starting a game on the weekend, he's going to be in the lineup. And, you know, with AJ, it's kind of interesting because he was a really good pitcher in high school. I just don't know, after last year, I had assumed that they weren't even considering that. And then all of a sudden he's throwing, which is really, really interesting. So anyways, they're technically both two-way guys. That's
fun. And then again, the other sophomore, I think Macon Winslow could make a big jump for him. He's really talented too. So love that group of sophomores. And you still got some nice veteran pieces. They're going to do their, you know, they should be able to do their mix and match thing that they love to do with the Gabe Nards and the, you know, of course you got Healy still there, but you know, Edward Hart. I mean, all these kind of like these pieces just fit cozily together on the mound. And then you mix in their this year's group of newcomers. I mean, Reed Esterly from Yale, you know, a guy that's been a workhorse in the Ivy League. We've seen them hit on all these Ivy League guys over and over. You know, him and Jake Berger from Harvard, and they got a kid from Princeton this year. I really like Jake Hyde from Georgetown as a veteran, middle of the order, run producer type bat. I mean, that guy's good, man. He's a real power hitter. He's done it. It's a nice get. So you plug some of those guys in. I don't think they're going to miss a beat, Darren. I'm going to see them tomorrow as we record this on Thursday. I'm going to see them play Charlotte and Cary tomorrow. So looking forward to that.
Nice. Yeah. No, I Ed Hart, by the way, like messed around and was a Cape League All-Star over the summer.
How about that? He was really good.
I mean, he's just and it's nothing that'll blow you away, right? He's high 80s and high pitchability, and that's a man. If he can sort of figure it out and pitch that well in the ACC schedule, that's just another piece for the Blue Devils. It's pretty cool story there. I'll be there as well, and in Cary to see Charlotte and Duke. So I'll see you there. We'll wrap at that relatively quick hit fall intrigue edition of ACC Baseball Etc. But Aaron, appreciate it. Have fun on your travels this fall. What's up first? You're seeing Duke and Charlotte tomorrow. What's the first trip?
Well, I've already made a couple. I've seen Georgia, I've seen Mississippi State. I made a Northeast run, and then next week I'm making a run through Virginia. See Virginia Tech and Liberty and VCU. I'll see UVA and Maryland, and so that's kind of the immediate future here.
Nice. Okay, I did see that you had done the Northeast trip already. I know that was one of your favorites. Cool. Right on. All right, man. Well, appreciate the time. Best of luck with your travels. Have fun with it. And we'll talk again soon. We'll revisit this stuff again very, very soon.
Absolutely. Look forward to it, my friend.